G'day, I'm George Christensen from CitizenGO here with Sally Grover, who was the founder of the app Giggle, and she's been the subject, and her app has been the subject of a recent court case. People will know it as Giggle v Tickle, and Tickle was a transgender activist, I guess, who has taken Sally to court because Sally's app was meant just for women. And this transgender activist is obviously a biological male, but it seems the law doesn't think so. So what? Tell us about the background to this and what's transpired.
Okay, so your summary was quite good. Basically, I created an app exclusively for women. It was a room, basically where women could go to find roommates, freelance work. We had a Twitter-style forum. It's basically designed to be a refuge for women on the internet, where they could just go and hang out with women. Female-only spaces have not been controversial for a long time. We live our lives more online, so it was just basically about taking something that is completely normal in our everyday lives and putting it on in the digital world. I didn't know at the time that there was any controversy around this issue because it's not a natural or instinctive thought to be like, oh, are men considered women in law? Who would think that? But basically, so I just through the app, I was brought into this issue of basically men saying that they were women and they should be allowed access to it. And I was like, well, that is absurd. And basically in January 2022, I received an Australian Human Rights Commission complaint from one Roxy Tickle citing gender identity discrimination. And it's really important to just note that the AHRC from day dot has treated me as if I was just guilty. It was like, you have done no wrong. You need to just admit that and pay for it, basically. And my position was, I have done nothing wrong. There is nothing wrong with creating a female-only space. It's been going on for years. And then in terms of the entire human history, no human beings ever changed sex. No man is a woman. So I've always felt very confident in standing my ground on the fact that I know I'm right. The law is wrong. Basically, in 2013, under Julia Gillard's government, amendments were made to the Sex Discrimination Act that put gender identity in, and they removed the definitions of man and woman. So it's completely muddled the act. You wonder whether there was any malice in them doing it. I tend to think because they removed the definitions that there was a little bit.
Yes.
But you could also make an argument that maybe they didn't know what they were doing, that they didn't realize that this is they didn't think that anyone would interpret it that gender identity overrides sex. But basically, I refused to settle in the AHRC because I would have just had to let him on, and I would have just had to give up female-only spaces and women's rights and women being a category of humans in law that men cannot identify into. And I was like, well, this is not fair. There was no point in having the app if men could be on it. The whole point of it was that it was women only. So I said no to conciliation. I didn't agree to anything. It escalated to federal court. And the case was heard in April of this year. We got a a decision in August, where the judge said I had done indirect gender identity discrimination, to pay him $10,000 plus costs. And he also, went very broad with his decision, saying that sex is changeable, which is an odd thing to say when you're talking about gender identity. There's a whole thing. It's been completely conflated, and so it's actually now conflated the legislation even more. So we have lodged our appeal. It's been accepted, and we are appealing to the full federal court. So that will happen early next year. That's 3 judges in the federal court. But we have always known that there's a strong likelihood of this ending up in the high court because we're dealing with bad legislation. Yeah,
certainly is bad legislation when you can have a judge saying that a man now legally can be a woman. Sal, I just want to ask, how much has this whole thing cost you personally, emotionally?
A lot. It is quite psychologically threatening, I suppose, when you go, the Australian Human Rights Commission, who is supposed to be there, if they're doing their job correctly, supposed to be there upholding the rights of all Australian citizens. But as I said, I've always felt that they never once cared about my rights, but not just mine, by extension, anyone else, any other Australian citizen's rights who does not believe in ideology. We live in a country where we're not supposed to be forced to believe in anything. And this is a belief system. You have to it could only be a belief system to say that men are women, because it's not happening in reality. So I felt sometimes it's a roller coaster. You have good days and bad days. On my bad days, I just look to. I have a daughter. I have a 2-year-old daughter, and I look to her, and I just think, like, if I don't fight this, I'm then just willingly sending her out into the world where she cannot say no to a man if he just says that he has a gender identity. Then his rights override anything she can say. Absolutely no way. That can't be it. So while we have, obviously at the moment institutions against us, like such as the AHRC and the federal court, what we have on our side is truth, reality, and facts. And I actually think that it's better to have those on your side than institutions, because at the end of the day, sex doesn't change, but laws do.
Yeah. And I think the other thing that you have on your side, Sal, is the people. And that's why CitizenGO is launching a petition direct to the Federal Attorney General to tell him to intervene in this case, fix this mess, change the laws to reflect what is reality and what the Australian public actually want to be the case. Men are men, women are women, and women should be able to have safe spaces online or in the real world if they want to. So I'd encourage you to go to citizengo.org, support Sally's cause here in the whole mess, the complete and utter joke that is Giggle v Tickle.